How's it, everybody? Ask and you shall receive green metallic visor tutorial video thing. What I'm going to go ahead and do is show you guys how I achieved this metallic green visor for this imperial crosshair bucket. It's going to be the quick and easy / fast and dirty, however you want to describe the method, without using those sticky, nasty dyes to tint a clear visor. We're not using the dyes. I hate the dyes. I don't want to deal with the dyes. So if you're like me and don't want to deal with that stuff, here's what we're going to do. We're going to achieve this look with paint. That's it. Just paint. Now, I've used different types of paint to achieve different types of looks on other helmets before this. I used a new method with this that I should have thought of beforehand. I don't know why I didn't, but it dawned on me one day, and this is what we're going to go ahead and do. So you really only need a few things to do this, so bear with me. We'll go ahead and through this step by step. I went ahead and prepped some other stuff so that we don't have to go through dry times and all that hullabaloo, but this is how we're going to do it. Now, pull this all out of the way so we can see what's going on. So this green metallic visor that I got in there is really simple. It was clear. Now, I went through a lot of different tones and a lot of different colors to try and figure out what was the best matching for the helmet with the pictures versus these things that came with the helmet. So I wanted to make sure it was as close as possible. It's still a little bit different because this is a lot more reflective and glossy. So I thought about matching the paint from here onto these, but I'm going to worry about that later. So let's go ahead and focus on this stuff. So we'll get this out of the way and we'll go ahead and show you what I use in order to do this. So first things first is we're going to need visor material. Now you can get this on Amazon like I did. It's the Forney clear grinding shield, blah, 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 blah. But it's transparent, clear. That's all we need. Now, this stuff is really good. It's really flexible. It's thick and sturdy, and it is pliable. I like this stuff better than the harder, more curved shells because it's a lot easier to work with, especially if you're using a helmet that is a cast helmet and not a 3D print, because cast helmets don't have a perfect seal all the way across. So I find it's a lot easier to get this right up in there into those little nooks and crannies so we don't end up with a really like big gaps in between our visor material and the helmet itself. So you're gonna have to get one of those. Let's see. Some scissors to cut this, because yes, you can cut this with just scissors. We don't have to worry about that. And for paint, these two guys. So what I use for the green tint is going to be the Candy Bottle Green. This is the closest color that I can find to match what we have on the Imperial Crosshair helmet. And it is a candy. You can use any candy from pretty much any manufacturer as far as I know. I'm using the All Clad 2 Lacquer Candy Bottle Green because it's what I found online that was really close. And it was cheap, and it was gonna ship faster than everything else. And then for their backing, for our mirror face that gives it the metallic shine, I'm using Ultimate Mirror Chrome from Spastics. This stuff is incredibly shiny. When this dries, it is mirror chrome. It's a little bit more chromy than All Clad and all that other stuff, because this is built to look like a shiny mirror, not necessarily armor. So this works really well to add that reflectivity to the back of the visor to act as a one-way mirror where you can see out but they can't see in kind of effect. So I have that. So that's for our paints. And then the method of painting I chose to do was use a little airbrush. Now, I'm not a fan of airbrushing. I hate airbrushing for the most part. I got this cheapo from the local art supply store. This is a dual action, meaning you press down, it releases air, and then you pull back and it starts the flow of paint. You don't need one of those. I think those are the more expensive ones. I think it was, oh God, $80 or something like that. You can probably get them on Amazon for cheaper, but this is what I'm using in order to do these. You can, if you have a bigger visor, use a HVLP gun to hook up, which is a little bit more overkill. Just get a cheap little HVLP sprayer if you got to do a really big visor. But for crosshair, it's small enough we can get away with this. And the needled grouping that I'm using on this, I believe, is a 0.05. So it's the largest one for this specific airbrush. I don't know how much larger they go with this, but this is what we're using, okay? And that's it. So we have those things. We have the material, scissors, the paint, and this airbrush thingy. Now what I'm gonna do is cut the material out. I already have some stuff here. And if you don't already know how I do my visor templates, I've done another video on that. It kind of goes through all that. We're gonna skip that step and just kind of go into the nitty gritty. Now, with this stuff, it's just easy to cut out. That's it. Super easy, you don't have to worry about it too much. Now, in order for me to prep this stuff, I usually have tape on one side. That's because we did our outline to cut out exactly what we need. And it's got this film on both sides. That's why I like this brand, because it has the film, protective layer of film on both sides. It makes it really nice for when you're trying to install your helmet and mark it out. Make sure it's perfect before you actually put it in, so that way it doesn't get all scratched up and beat up as you're moving in and out of the helmet. But we peel that sucker off, and this is the surface you're gonna paint. So the back, or the front essentially, is gonna be facing out. This is what you look at the helmet at. So your eyes are back here, everybody else's front here. And we don't wanna paint that. So usually I go ahead and leave this on there so we don't have to worry about any overspray or anything getting on there. Just makes it a hell of a lot easier. And then what I do from there is tape it up on a wall, which I have back here, your print or spray booth, whatever you want to do it in. Boop. And that's it. That's all you want to do. That's usually how I end up spraying these things, just because I don't want to mess around too much. I don't have an HVAC system. I don't have any of that. So use protection. If you don't have that kind of system, you want to go ahead and make sure to protect yourself, protect your lungs, because you don't want to be breathing this stuff in. But as far as that goes, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Let's go ahead and get down to the nitty gritties. All right, so what I'll do, grab this guy, because it's quick and dirty, like I said. I don't really pay too much attention to this stuff. We give it a couple of little shakes. It's not too bad. This is a really cool green. I really, really like this green. It's not gonna take much, but I'm gonna put a little bit more in there anyway. Right. Ooh. That's a lot. We don't need that much. See if I do everything all backwards. All right. Now you always want to do a test pattern on stuff before you actually start painting your part, so you can get an idea of how much spray you're going to need or how dark it's going to be. Now you don't have to do it this dark. You want to go light first and kind of build up your layers just like that. You don't want to go heavy, heavy, heavy. You want to go lighter to darker. These are not going to need much, just because you don't want to build it up too thick, so you worry about adding an extra haze that you're not going to be able to see out of. And yes, if you do this with the candy and the mirror, you still can see out really, really well. And I'll try and put a video later on that kind of shows that. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to stand further back because I want an even spray. And just go back and forth, back and forth. It makes a nice little hissing noise that I can't really stand. There we go. And that should be good. That should be good. We're gonna go ahead and spray a little bit more. Anyway, just because I have extra paint in there. All right, so that's pretty much that. Now, since I do everything like pretty quick and dirty, I'm gonna go ahead and pour some cleaner, some airbrush cleaner into my little cup and hose that out on the area below. You can't see this. Don't worry, it's not happening. Just to kind of clean out my brush, because I'm gonna use the same cup to do the mirror stuff. Now, since I already went ahead and prepped a couple greens on here already, we'll go ahead and take this down, let it dry. Try not to touch it because it's still wet, and you can kind of see it's got that nice green sheen to it. So we'll put that down, and we'll put up the other one, the test. It's got a bunch of stuff on it, sorry. That's okay, it's not going to be perfect because it's not going anything. And hang that bad boy up. We'll hang the other one up too, just so we can kind of get a, we can almost, let's go hang that a little. Let's hang it over here. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter, whatever. Now we'll go ahead and spray our mirror chrome on the back of that. Now these are dry. Normally I would say to let these things dry overnight. If you have sunlight you're doing during the day, it really only took like an hour or so for these things to be really, really dry enough for me to go ahead and mess around with the paint. But let's see. And there's still a bit of green in there. Hold on just a second. All right. I'll go ahead and pour a little bit of our chrome in there. I said a little bit and I poured a whole bunch in there. And same thing, test your patterns because you don't want to overdo it. Now, the level of thickness of spray that you put on these with the mirror kind of makes it to where your visibility goes up and down. So if you heavy coat it, you're gonna have a lot less visibility. But if you go light, you should be better off because the lighter the coat, the more you can see. And because it's gonna be dark on the inside of your helmet, you don't have to worry about light bleed coming through. So they still, even with light coats, shouldn't be able to see your face. However, if you wanna just be careful enough and avoid all that, just to make sure that, you don't want people seeing your ugly mug, then you can go a little heavier. Now, obviously, that looks like I got a bunch of fingerprints and stuff all over that, which is whatever. We don't care. We don't care. We're going to spray it anyway. I'll go a little heavier on this one so we can kind of get to see the difference between the two. That's it. That's all you got to do is just go back and forth a little bit. Make sure you're getting all the areas so it's nice and even. Pour a little bit more of that thinner in the cup just so I can get rid of the paint that I have in there because we don't want to gum up my brush too much. And that's it. Done. That's it. That's all I do. You can let these things dry. I think because it is a lacquer base, it only takes a few minutes to actually dry. But you can see, nice reflective. And then boom, nice green reflective. Right now it looks a little wonky because that outer coating is still on here. So you're always going to make sure, leave that on until the very end just in case. But there's one. Again, nice and reflective. Got that green coating. Now the moment of truth. You can go ahead and pull off that green coating. Come on. There we go. Nice metallic reflective surface. And again, like right now you can see straight through it because the light's coming straight through and there's no dark on the backing. But as soon as this is up against something dark, you're not going to be able to see in. You will be able to see out. I don't know if I can do that. You can still see out just fine. Like there's not going to be, it's a little hazy, almost like if you were breathing in your helmet and you didn't have a ventilation. It kind of has a bit of that haze. This is about the visibility that you're gonna be getting. So still good for trooping. You're still good for moving around, everything. You don't have to worry about falling off any steps, but you still get that nice reflective and that nice secrety little privacy window. Obviously, like I said, without the darkness behind it, you can see right through it. If you're going to do more of a, let's say this is just going to hang up in your office or something, you're not going to really be wearing it as much, then what I would say to do is just layer the heck out of the back of this thing with the chrome. That way there's not any light bleed, because if this is hanging up somewhere, you might have light coming up from underneath into the helmet, which would illuminate the backside and have a little bit of visibility with your helmet stand or whatever. So if it is just going to be a prop somewhere and just hanging up, you don't have to worry about it. then go ahead and just layer that silver on there. You could also use a spray paint. It doesn't have to be, if you're not going to be using it specifically for trooping, you can just take a chrome spray paint like the, so we get the, there's the metallic from Montana. You can do the silver chrome metallic from Montana to do the same thing on the back sides of these without having to worry about it. I did them a long time ago on this red that I didn't actually end up using. And you can see, you can't really see through that one. You can't really see my finger too well because this was going on a stand. I didn't have to worry about it. The atomization that happens with this stuff, with the spastics, is a lot thinner, so you can get a lot more visibility out of it. So that's what I would suggest you use. But again, you don't have to. Now, this experiment is good for greens, golds, yellows, pinks, reds, whatever colors you want to do to tint whatever visor you want to tint. You can use the same method as long as you find what seems to be the secret ingredient is candy paints. Candy is a transparent gloss, essentially, that goes over the top of most other paints to tint or change the color of the paints underneath. So as long as you can find a good candy in the color that you want, do the same method, and that's essentially what you're going to achieve. Now, you can be a lot better at this with making sure that you wipe the surface down really good. You can actually even go for and use your shirt and buff this stuff out on the backside, just as a, it gets any of the dust and stuff off there. You don't have to worry about it. Go ahead and rub that on my shirt. No big deal. Doesn't change, doesn't mess up, doesn't scratch it. You should be good. And that's pretty durable. You don't have to worry about it. Oops, throwing stuff on the ground. I mean, it scratched it a little bit, but you're not going to be doing it on the inside of your helmet, I don't think. But again, and this one was a little heavier. I'll go ahead and peel that off. So I went a little heavier on this one. Oops, get that. There we go. You can still see through it. You can still see through the outside. It's pretty good. It's a lot heavier, but there you go. That's how I do these green visors for the crosshair. Magic. There you go. Now, as you can see, you ain't seeing my finger in there. Can't see me. And then you glue it in. It's a little ugly in there. Don't worry about it. But that's how I do it. If you guys have any more questions, if you can think of anything that I didn't cover or that I didn't say, send me a DM. Always, you can go ahead and ask me any questions you want. I have no problem with that. Let me know if this if this helps at all. And then I would really look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. And if there are any better methods out there for the quick and easy way without the dyes, and I didn't do it, let me know, because I always love learning this kind of stuff. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully this takes care of some of the issues that a lot of you guys are having without being able to find a really nice visor for this. And that's it. Boom, bam. Boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Aloha, you guys. Shoots.